Welcome to ProjectME, the podcast. I'm your host, Tiffany Carter, the founder of ProjectME, multimillionaire entrepreneur, former TV newscaster, money-making expert, female empowerment speaker, and self-proclaimed office supply addict. My mission is to take the mystery out of making big money. Every week on ProjectME, the podcast, I'll share success tips, strategies, and stories from other entrepreneurs, experts, and millionaires, showing you exactly how you can achieve your most exceptional life. Now let's get to it. Do you want massive momentum, major money, and magnetic millionaire energy in your business and bank account? If you had an expert you trusted lay out a proven strategy for you, step by step, to get you to consistent $20,000 to $50,000 months without burning yourself out, would you do it? And this, my loves, is why I created the brand new, ultra exclusive ProjectME with Tiffany Carter Mastermind Live Experience 2021. Picture 2 days with my crazy ass hanging out at a multi-million-dollar oceanfront beach house, mapping out exactly how you will get to your next big income goal with absolute clarity. There will be VIP beach photo shoots, a sunset abundance cocktail hour, plus other luxuriating surprises. Now, this is strictly by application only, as I will be hand selecting 15 of you who I feel are the perfect fit for this mastermind experience and will get a significant return on investment from attending. For all the details and pricing and to apply, go to projectmewithtiffany.com/mastermind. projectmewithtiffany.com/mastermind. The link is also in my bio on Instagram at projectmewithtiffany. And of course, you can DM me with any questions if you aren't 100% sure if this is the right fit for you right now. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and posse. I'm your host, Tiffany, and today we're going to have some extra real talk. Now, you know, we always keep it on the real around here because we're not available for fake or fluff talk. It is so easy to be high vibe and feeling on top of the world and doing all of your manifestation and mantras and your morning routine when everything in your business and your life is jiving, right? The money is flowing in, your launch went great. Anyone who's working for you, you feel working with you feel very supported by them. But the hard part comes when the stuff you've poured your heart, soul, and energy to is not turning into gold. There is someone who's maybe stolen from you on your team, or who's not showing up, or someone unexpectedly quit. Things that are way outside of your control that you couldn't have predicted. Hello, COVID, right? And then what do? Most of us get very rattled and get derailed. And then what happens is it is a compound effect and your business suffers further. So I wanted to make sure we had a real conversation from two multimillionaire women who built multiple businesses, so you could hear what we do in the in-between. What do we do when stuff's not working? How do we keep ourselves mentally in check? How do we handle when problems arise? And not just once in a while. I've had in 14 years, I've had it where it's like 2 months of problems. That ain't cute. I brought on Lori Harder. Many of you might know her. A lot of you probably don't. She is the founder of an incredible, really unique alcohol brand called Light Pink. She also has a non-alcoholic beverage in there as well. But it is a community-driven and a community-building alcohol brand. It's more than just, a great rosé drink. She's also the longtime host of the Earn Your Happy podcast, which has millions and millions and millions of downloads. So if you guys have not listened to the show, you've got to listen to it. Lori, thanks for coming on and being willing, really, to have this straight up real conversation about the in-between times, because I have never had a guest on that I would say is of your level of success that has been willing to be so transparent. And that's why I was extra excited to do this with you, because I know that you would be. You know what I mean by people who are like, I'm going to share my failures, and their failure is like, that was like a normal day for me. Like, yes. That's not that bad, honey. Like,
yes, they're like, I spilled my coffee.
Right. Like I lost, I made 10 million the month before and I lost 500,000 the month after. You're like, or I had one product launch that didn't go well in 5 years. You're like, yeah, that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
So in building, I mean, you obviously have a very successful personal brand, but in building a completely different business model and in the consumer packaged goods world, you're doing the opposite of what I've done.
Yes.
My experience is in consumer packaged goods. And then 4 years ago, I went into personal, the personal branding, which by the way, is very fucking different.
Yeah.
And you're doing from personal branding to consumer packaged goods, which my guess is you have the same sentiment.
I feel crazy most every moment. I'm not going to lie. Like, I thought I felt crazy just building a personal brand, because that's a thing in of itself, in an ever-changing time, in an ever-changing landscape, with when you're the brand, you're ever-changing. So like, you may have just figured out what you want to do, and now poof, just like that, you've evolved and you're like bored about talking about what you're doing, or you don't like your offering, or you've realized that you want to talk to a whole different audience because you've up-leveled so much, or whatever that looks like. But a product, oh my God, the landscape is constantly changing. So the landscape is kind of like, it replaces how you were, just like everything from day to day, especially right now, living in this, post-COVID, COVID/COVID world. It's whatever we're in right now. It really is, every single day is different. And I can't tell you how many phone calls we even got off of yesterday, where we had so many people say, this next year prices can increase every single day, on cardboard, on aluminum, which, you guys, my stuff needs cardboard and we need aluminum. So, I think that mentally I am so incredibly grateful for all of the things that I learned from personal development and from having, a personal brand. And I think that even just handling all of the different personalities in people was such a huge factor in having me feel like I could do this, because there's definitely been days where I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I for sure have taken, it's the first time, but it was probably 2 weeks ago. I took a day and I just needed to sit with, am I doing the right thing? Like, does this still feel good? Is this still smart? Was my main question, because the world is changing so much and we actually don't know what our prices are going to be in the future and what this is going to look like. And it's extremely uncertain. And then I said, why is this any different than any other day? Like, it's always uncertain. So that was, you guys didn't sit through the day of crying and freaking out and running into my husband's office and saying, you need to kick me back in the game, because I don't know how I'm going to kick myself back in. Like, I don't have it in me to go and figure this out on my own right now. And I think these are the conversations that people need to know are being had out there, and how to kick yourself back in the game, and how to make sure you create a supportive environment around yourself so that other people won't let you fail, even when maybe you feel like you're failing yourself. And those are a lot of pieces that go into that. And you're not always going to have that in the beginning, but I think that as you simultaneously build your business, you have to be building those things in. And that's really what I've done with this in so many ways, whether it's, the people that I've hired or the investors that I've brought on. Like, I intentionally brought on women that I knew would not let me fail, as long as I put up my little, SOS flag that was like, hey, I need your help. And that's a really important component of being successful, is learning to freaking ask for help as much as possible, to the point where I have days where I'm like, I feel like I can't write another email asking someone for something. Like, I feel like I don't have anything left to ask for more, because it takes so much energy I think this is not all women, but we're not trained to ask. Like, especially, we feel like we need to do things on our own, and that's going to make us look stronger, or maybe we feel bad, or we feel guilty, or we feel like a burden. I don't know about you guys, but my story growing up was like, don't, don't be too loud, don't burden, like take care of everything yourself, like try to figure it out. That's not going to get you anywhere in business. It's not. It'll get you somewhere, but it's not going to get you to the places that you want to go, because this, I think in order to exponentially grow and to keep growing as a human, we were put on this earth to be interwoven with other humans. That's why you don't have all the skill set, is because you're meant to go and find it with other people.
Why do you think it is? Because I did this with my first business where I didn't ask for help. I don't know where the hell I picked up this belief from, but I thought that if I asked for help, then I wasn't meant to be an entrepreneur. Like a real entrepreneur figures it out on their own. No idea where I got this. Therefore, it took me far longer than it should have to get to where I wanted to go, and it wasn't fun. Why do you think that is? Where does this kind of stuff come from? Because this is very common, and it's especially common with highly ambitious, very smart, very driven women.
Mm. Okay, so I noticed this belief creeping back in as I pivoted into something new again. Because you guys, we can work through all of our stuff and think that it's gone, and then go throw yourself in a new environment. I was just talking about this. Like, you can think that you're the most personally developed, enlightened person, and then you go home to your family for a week and you're like just triggered, and you turn into your old self and you're like lashing out and you're like so ashamed of how you're acting. That's exactly what happens when you pivot in business. You're like, oh, I've got this. And then you go somewhere new and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like brand new. I feel crazy. Like, I don't feel like I can be a CEO. I don't know how I'm going to be a leader of this. Like, how can I even like get your grounding when it's something new and you don't understand? So I think the first thing is realizing as you pivot that your imposter syndrome is going to come back up. And what happens is, I know for me, as I pivoted, I had this feeling like I was supposed to show up as a leader who knew everything from the start, or people wouldn't invest in me. That was a really big thing. It was like, oh my gosh, these people won't invest in me if I don't know all the answers. What if I get on these investor calls and I don't have all the answers? It's like, they're not, you're brand new. They know that you're getting into a brand new business. And my superpower, I realized from somebody who I was on the phone with, who I kept saying, and when they would ask me questions, it was one of my first investor calls. And you guys, I knew nothing. Like, literally, I was learning they would ask me a question and I'd say, you know what, I don't have that answer yet, but I'm going to get it for you by tomorrow. And I would just do everything I could to get the answer by tomorrow. I was learning through the questions they were asking me. And then all of a sudden the questions started to be the same over and over again. And I was learning. And all of a sudden one day, maybe on my 10th investor call, I was like, oh, I was able to answer a majority of those questions because of all of the different things. And we have to remember that when you are a beginner, your biggest superpower is telling people exactly where you're at. It's like when you are speaking on stage and you think that you're supposed to go up there and be Mel Robbins or Brennan Bouchard or, Ed Milet or Tony Robbins. That's literally like first time talking. I was comparing myself to Tony Robbins, who's been doing it for like, however many years. And your biggest superpower is saying, I'm brand new at this. You guys, I'm so nervous right now, but I'm up here because this is what I want to do. And I have something to say and I just need 1 second. And, I'm going to take a breath and then I'm going to move on. What that immediately does is it makes people want to help you, and it makes people be patient with you, and it makes people want to cheer you on. And so when I was first on these, investor calls, which you guys, to me, it felt, I have coined myself as not a numbers person, which I'm getting rid of that story as well. But imagine being thrown into something where you're going to go and talk to people about raising money and numbers and your company and a business plan when that hasn't been on your radar at all. Like, it would be like somebody listening who doesn't know about it, having maybe a week of prep work and then being like, hey, I'm going to release you to the wild. You have to get on these calls with people who do know about this. The one thing that you don't want to do is get on and act like especially with people who know.
Because we know, and you've just lost their trust. Like, in full disclosure, yes. I'm a prime investor in Light Pink, and I had obviously the investor call with Lori. And what really sealed the deal for me investing is because you said you didn't know. Mm-hmm. It is I've invested with people because you learn from your mistakes. I've invested, I invest in a lot of companies, especially women-owned companies. And I've invested with people who are very smooth, They tell you what you want to hear, that kind of, well, I've also dated people and like that, but that's another that's another episode.
Same.
They tell you, what you want to hear. And what that does is if that's your wheelhouse, and consumer packaged goods that's more comfortable to me than personal branding. I've done that. Right. If she tried to come up with some answer, she would have lost the trust I already had in her. Right. Because I would have been like, that's not even how you use that term. What are you talking about?
Totally. And I would have used it wrong for sure, you guys. So yes, like, again, that's what I heard from a few people was like, you know what, I liked the way that you go through, or that you find answers, or I know you're going to find the answer. And that just showed me like, yeah, she may not know that, but she'll find someone, or she'll find the answer, or she'll figure that out. Instead of like, oh, well, that's going to be a blind spot because you actually don't know, and you're acting like you know it all, and you're not open, and you're uncomfortable when you get feedback. And so those are some really big things. So I think the main thing is just to go at these new things that you're doing and know that, number one, all of those things are going to come up. Imposter syndrome is going to come up, but your best friend is going to be to state where you're at. I'm brand new at this. Here's the answers I'm looking for. I'm about to ask a lot of questions, and they may not even be the right questions. Like, this is for when I'm trying to get answers, maybe with manufacturing or co-packing. I'm going to go through a bunch of questions that I need the answers to. Maybe you can even help me and let me know what questions I should be asking. That's a question I ask all the time. Hey, I just asked you 10 different questions and I'm looking for an answer along these lines. Is there a question that I should be asking? Like, if you were me and you were brand new, is there something that I'm not seeing? Because I would just love all of the info that you can give me right now so that I can, move forward and know what to do next. And that has gotten me to more, like, I've gotten on calls with people where I'm like, how do I have a call with this person? Oh my God, this is the president of X, Y, and Z. Or, oh my God, I'm literally talking to like the CEO at Anheuser-Busch. Like, how is this happening? And it's because you're so vulnerable and you're so open and you're so like passionate about what you're doing. Like, I go in with passion. I reset every single time before a phone call. I'm like, okay, I was given this vision. I know this is for me. I know I'm going to figure this out. Okay, I'm going to show up on this phone call and I'm going to be really vulnerable. And I'm going to also see if I can add value to them in any way. So I always ask that question at the end, even if I can't, like, how am I going to add value to X, Y, and Z person? But sometimes you'd be surprised. And just resetting into the vision and letting yourself like feel all the feels. I think the worst thing that I do sometimes is be like, okay, don't feel this way. You're confident, you're bold, you're amazing. And that's great. But it's also like, okay, you feel this way because you're new. This is so normal. But you're also so brave. Like, the fact that you're even willing to get on this call and stumble around, not even knowing what questions to ask, almost wanting to cancel, it will always lead you to something so powerful, but it never feels good. I'll tell you, like, especially, I know that we had just chatted that you're more of an introvert. I'm more of an introvert. The last thing I actually want to be doing is getting on calls with strangers like that. I would take hot pins poked in my eyes first. Like, before I'm like, you don't know who I am. You're super busy. You seem a little annoyed that you're on this call, because that happens a lot. And you just have to keep pushing it, like, for this answer that you're looking for, because this might be your one shot, you guys. And you have to keep showing up super kind and giving back. And sometimes I've gotten off calls where I'm like, well, that was the worst call of my entire life. And they made me feel like a complete idiot. And you just move on. And this is the journey. It's just continuing to find answers and remembering that you get to do it. And I think it's like the constant resetting and perspective shifting. And Tiffany, right now, I think the only thing that's really like that moves me forward every single day, because I'm in a lot of tough phone calls right now, like a lot of tough days of like dead ends, just with, trying to track things down or track people down, or figure out numbers that are ever changing and what this is going to look like. And what's keeping me really focused is staying in the vision, connecting with other people who also believe in the vision, believing that there is a way. Like, I know that there is a way because there's always a way. And
there's
I know that
always a way.
Always. I know that if I don't do this, someone else is going to solve it. And then I'm going to be like, oh, someone else solved that and I gave up. And so what else would I be doing? Like, I get the opportunity right now in this country to create a business that I love, with people that I'm so excited about. You get to turn a thought into reality. And I think as a human being, like that is one of the most gratifying things that we can ever do. That's why we're here, is to take these thoughts that we think in these ideas and turn them into actual things that include other people that we can connect over and bond over and bring something into the world that could maybe leave the world a little bit better and create better connections or whatever your business looks like. So definitely I do resetting practices every day. So I don't go to bed and I don't wake up without doing 3 grateful fors, 3 excited abouts, and 3 manifests. So every single day, I've already done 1 set this morning. Chris and I are going to do another set at night. And it just gets me back into, oh yeah, I get to do this. Oh yeah, what else would I be doing? Oh yeah, I get to like connect, create ideas with these people in this world. And if it wasn't this, that was a challenge, trust me, it's going to be something else. So it's just like a relationship. Everywhere you go, there you are. It's like that idea when you're, you keep attracting like maybe the common denominator of a relationship that isn't working or friendships that aren't working. You're starting to realize like, oh, maybe this is me. Like maybe this is about me. Like I'm attracting all these people. I'm showing up the same way. They're all responding the same way to me. Like maybe this is about me. It's kind of the same in business. Like we keep thinking there's going to be better problems to solve or that a different business is going to go well. It's not. It's all going to be challenges. All of it. Your whole life will be challenges. So it's like choosing the one that gets you the most excited about hanging in there with the challenges. And then also knowing that it's not going to be exciting all the time and creating massive accountability for yourself to keep showing up for those challenges.
One thing I'm picking up when you're talking about this is managing our own expectations.
Yes.
It sounds like you didn't go into building Light Pink, a consumer packaged good brand, on top of it being in the alcohol world, which is a whole nother set of regulations for those of you who aren't aware of. And going into that, I don't feel you probably said to yourself, in 6 months, this product's going to be on the shelves and then in another 6 months, I'm going to be bought out by the biggest alcohol brand in the world. Like, I'm curious how you managed your own expectations, but without downplaying your goals.
This was so interesting because I feel like with, I started this business before COVID. So it was very like, okay, we're going to go direct to consumer. We're going to do retail sales. And I had really big plans, like grand plans. And while I still do, they were just a bit quicker with my expectations of how I wanted it out, where I thought it would be, what was possible. And so I think that we need to, and I know that you're asking a little bit of a different question, but at the same time, I think I'll get to the answer. It's like, I think we need to think really big and I think we need to have really high expectations, but then you also need to be willing to adapt and also listen to other stories and know the landscape of the world and what's going on. So you need to reset your expectations over and over. They need to be very, you need to be in flow with them. They need to be really adjustable. I don't know why the word's not coming to me. Flexible. Thank you. Thank you, brain, for showing up.
They're used to this. I have a habit of messing up like very common sayings, like put the cart before the horse and shit like that. So you're right in line.
Great. I'm so glad. I just want to keep the vibe of the podcast. So good. We're starting it. Good. I'll do it again. Okay. So managing and having flexible expectations, because if you're not quick, I'm really finding out that success loves speed. And in order to do that, you also have to be quick comebacks from your failures and quick resetting of an expectation. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck there and you don't have weeks to be stuck somewhere. Like, let's say even, let's go back to what I thought original launch would be. I didn't know how long it would take for licensing into each state. So of course my numbers in my head were higher. Of course I wanted it to get to this state and that state. And then you actually get into the meat of what you're doing that you can't get into until you've started your business. And, you're talking to actual licensing and they've got a timeline that is also flexing and moving and going all over the place from month to month, from year to year. So it was like, I have had to learn to find out what the landscape is, set my expectation around that, maybe try to speed it up and just adjust and release and let go and reset. And what did that affect? Okay, we're going to pivot over here and we're going to move this around and now we're going to do this. And maybe the next week you find out something different. You have to be willing to continue to say, okay, we're adjusting plans again. We're adjusting plans again. And I think that if there's one thing that I've noticed that has been a block that I've been really working on, it's observing the stories that I'm telling myself in my head about what other people are saying that isn't being said. So the stories that maybe my investors are saying in their head that they're actually not at all. The stories that maybe my audience is thinking in their head that they're not thinking at all. And even if they're, who freaking cares? It's out of your control, or as much in your control as you can. You pivot and you move forward. But I think I can explain that to everybody listening as you have stories of what you think your audience is thinking. You have stories of what you think your family is thinking, of what you think your friends are thinking. And you have to be willing to completely scorch those at all times. You have to be willing to not care. You have to be willing to let go. And you have to be willing to say, even if that is a true story, which it's probably not, I am going to do my best and move forward and release that. And I'm not going to dig my claws into that. And I do a lot of work energetically around releasing that, because you are so powerful when you don't have all of those stories on you.
They're very draining when we start putting our focus in that area. And now you're giving your very limited resource of energy and mental bandwidth to it. I call it like leaning in or leaning out. Are you going to lean in to the crap we come up with? Like, oh, my investors are pissed because this product isn't being sold yet. Yep. It's like, but no one's even said that to you, right? No one. But are you going to lean into that thought?
Yep.
Or are you going to lean out? It really is a choice, but I mean, it does take discipline. I mean, it's not always easy, right? To do that?
No, I'm in it every day and it's not easy. So I actually do work around it whenever it comes up, which can be every day. Sometimes it can be 10 times a day. And that's really normal, you guys. Like, it doesn't matter where you're at or how many businesses you've done. Like, there's going to be a new story that's going to keep testing you. It could be every hour. It could be every 30 minutes. And it gets better. Some days are great. Some days I feel so amazing. Like maybe something went great in my business, so I'm feeling so empowered. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Then maybe things are going wrong and it triggers all of these fears, right? Like you're already, when you're in fear, you just attract it like like your thoughts, you just want to grab onto more of them because that's how we're wired. Like, it's easier to grab on to the negative thought. So I do a lot of work around like, okay, if I want to like reset my energy, if I want to get back the energy that I need, meaning the actual energy that you need to function that day and think clearly, and you have enough energy to move forward and move through your emails and do all the things that you need to do, you need to detach quickly from that, because none of it's real. Like, even if it's real to one person or 5 people, that's actually not reality, because they're not living in reality either. Like, at the end of the day, we're all making up what we want to make up, and we get to make up the world that we live in. And it's detaching for me. I actually physically picture like letting go of the thought and letting it out of my like chest and out of my solar plexus, wherever it tends to grab, like taking a deep breath. For me, I know, I don't know what a lot of people believe, but for me, it's just saying a quick prayer to God. It's like, please, I'm offering this up. Like, thank you for taking care of this. And I just hand it away. So whether universe, energy, whatever, like, thank you, universe, for taking care of this. I'm going to give that to you now. And I'm going to focus on this over here, because it's all you can ever do. What are you going to do? Go call people and find out the story? They're going to be like, why the hell are you calling me? Go solve this. Like,
I think it's also like our ego's clever, cunning, manipulative way to take our eye off the prize.
Totally. I think that, what is so crazy to me is the amount of times I catch just being the observer of catching how our humanness wants to sabotage what we're doing. Like, my fear wants to sabotage what I'm doing every day. And I'm like, that's so cute. Like, that's so sweet that you are trying to keep me safe. And that's so awesome that you're trying to keep me from the woman that I know that I am here to be. But I'll use that tactic a lot, actually, where I will allow myself to picture myself giving up. I'll be like, what is that going to feel like?
Not cute.
Not fun. Not cute. What else am I going to do? Am I just going to give up on every hope and dream that is like in my life? And if I don't solve this, what makes me think that I'd go start something else and solve those problems? Nothing. Like if I can't solve this, I'm not going to be able to transfer, this into another business. There's going to be the same amount or level of problems, just in a different form.
Like that grass. Oh God, I'm doing a saying. This is dangerous.
I like it. I like
grass, it. It's the grass isn't greener. It's just a different shade of green. Is that it?
That's one of them. I think that's one of them.
I don't know why I'm so bad with these.
Well, I think you actually have the right one. I'm like, the grass is always greener on the other side. Like, no, but you have yours. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the grass isn't greener. It's a different shade of green.
Oh, that's
I think that's right.
You know what? If it's not a phrase, it should be.
Exactly. So. We make up phrases and words here on the podcast. We have our own dictionary at this point.
I want this dictionary.
Oh, you do? Like the word luxuriating is our main word. Like we're all about the luxuriating life.
That's marinating in luxury. I already know what that is.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as long and as much as possible. On those weeks and even months where you have not just, we had a fire drill this week and we had another problem here. I'm talking when it's excessive.
Yeah.
When it's like, you've got the aluminum can shortage. Now we have inflation. Now you're not getting return calls on this. Something else fell through. I mean, it's like, it just is piles to the point where you're like, I just want to quit and run away to a remote island and make seashell necklaces for people.
I had that thought.
I mean, if you haven't, I'd be concerned. Seriously. As an investor, I'd be concerned if you didn't have that thought. That's such a normal thought. What do you do then when it gets that big? Do you take a day off? What does that look like?
Oh man. I mean, I love this so much because it just depends. And I think, I love that you even said like run away to an island. Like I think it's really important to just observe all of those things that we think and that we do and where that's coming from and asking that emotion, why do I feel this way? What am I actually afraid of? And playing that scenario out. And also it's like the level of just grace that you have to have on yourself, and also faith and trust that you will, let's just say worst case scenario. And I feel like you would have to be absolutely crazy if you did not at least say worst case scenario, let's say this doesn't work. Okay, well, what if I quick inserted a new product and we tried something else? What if I went to all of these amazing investors and said, hey, here's why I don't think this is working. Show me why it could, or let's see what we can do. It's like playing those worst case scenarios out so that you don't have to just like sit in them by yourself anymore. So that's been one of the things that I do. There's a million things that I do. I'm like, okay, let's actually go examine what you're afraid of and let's go down that rabbit hole and play it till the end. So I play it till the end. And I come up with something that I'm like, okay, I could live with that ending, like I could figure that out. Okay. For somebody who maybe like, let's just say their business they're like, oh shit, this is donezo. Like, this is truly, we need to put this to bed. It's been 10 years. This is not working. We're actually like completely losing money. We know it's the end. Okay, wonderful. Maybe you took everyone on a journey with you. Maybe that was the best experience for this next business that you're starting. Maybe people don't think badly of you at all. Maybe they're so grateful for all of the things you did above and beyond and for the things that they learned throughout the journey. And maybe they think you're so great that even though they lost money, they're going to go and do another business with you because maybe they were like, you know what, timing of the world, X, Y, and Z. Play it all out to the end and just know that you're going to do your freaking best and ask for as much help as you can until you see something very clearly. So I think that's one thing that I do is like, I'm not going to sit in a scenario that I'm just going to be afraid of and I won't look at it. Like, oh, that's in the closet. Oh, that's freaking me out. What if this happens? Oh my God, you're not going to sleep. You'll never sleep. You'll never have energy for what you want to do. I do know some people who cope with things like that and they're not doing very well. So I definitely think look at it, talk about it, talk to other people, talk to other business people, talk to founders, like allow yourself to unpack it. And then you're not scared of it. So then you don't let it the thought take you down, right? Because that's not happening right now. It's the thought that's probably really draining your energy and trying to take you down. Another thing that I do is I like sometimes, like you said, if I know a problem can't be solved that day and I'm like at max and it's just been the worst day ever, I'm like, we're done for today. There's nothing else I can do today. I'm literally going to go, I'm going to eat a healthy meal because I know that like drinking my face off or doing something miserable, which has happened sometimes. Don't get me wrong. It's not that we're not going to do that.
Me too. It's like wine and white cheddar popcorn. Very dangerous.
Sometimes that's actually self-love. I truly believe that. Sometimes it's like saying, about to swear on here. Can we swear on here?
Fuck yes.
Okay. Sometimes it's saying, fuck it, eating your cheddar popcorn, drinking wine with a friend, crying, calling it a day, realizing you wake up tomorrow feeling worse and you shouldn't have done that. So you clean your act up the next day, have a kale salad, do your workout, have a good sleep again, and then you get back to it on the second day. Like sometimes that's how it's going to look because you are human. You don't have all the answers. You're going to feel beat down. You're going to have days like that. And I don't think that when you are just at your ultimate wit's end where you feel like you're going to have a nervous breakdown, I don't think the thing you should do is go dive back into your emails.
Oh God, don't. I've done it because as a Virgo and those familiar with the Enneagram and Enneagram 6, that is, we want to control.
Yeah.
And we want to, and I'm a strategist, I want to troubleshoot. I want to handle it now because that's fear response though, right?
Yeah.
Like I have to do something. I have to do something. Nothing has ever gone well when I am in that space. And when I'm in that space, it affects my whole team.
Yes.
And then they kind of go in that space. And now we've created problems that weren't there before.
Yes. And I think that is a trigger for us to take a second because I think that there's all the answers are in the pause is what I'm finding. And whether it's a walk, I'm not kidding you when I say sometimes the best thing I can do, even if it's like, oh, you have all of these different things to do. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take these 2 hours. I'm going to go on a really long walk. I'm going to go with Chris. I'm going to verbally process everything and I'm going to get my answer. I typically 99% of the time go and get my answer or therapize myself so much on that walk where I'm moving my body. I'm looking up, I'm thinking about ideas. I'm playing stupid idea time, which means nothing is off the table. It's a place where anything can exist in the world.
From our friend, Rob Murgatroyd.
Love him. Rob and Kim Murgatroyd. I hope he writes the book on it.
Oh, he will. We're going to make him.
I literally have sent him voice notes. I'm like, if you don't write this book, I'm going to come and find you. Because it's so good. Stupid idea time and just allowing yourself to process in the way that you need or to have that pause because you're not going to find it from frustration. Beautiful things are not going to come out of a place where you feel like shit, you feel like crap, you are frustrated. Like give yourself a break, go get your power back, go get your energy, go connect back into whatever you believe, go meditate, go for a walk. That's where your answers are going to come from. So I always remind myself of that when I'm in a place of just pure upset, frustration, anger. I'm like, nothing good is coming from here. It is absolutely not what I want to create in the world. So I'm going to go regroup. And, sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's a day. And then that's when you can come from a power place, a much like more rooted, grounded, thinking clearly.
You're coming from a place of, like you said, grounded. You're coming from a place of more calmness, not from this frantic fear state.
Yeah. And I watch a lot of people make decisions from fear and it's never a good place and it's not good for your team. It's probably doing something really drastic that's either not going to work or wasn't smart or it's just, I always think that we're picking from this field of ideas, right? There's always a million ideas out there. And in order to do that, you need to take some space and assess them and allow them to come up. And like we were just talking about, I think a big superpower that we all have, and you have it too, Tiff, now with like stupid idea time, is allowing nothing to be stupid. Put everything on the table. Ask other people's opinions, and let the best idea rise to the top.
Yeah. There's a trend going on the interwebs that gives me a small rash. And this is a good transition into it where it's, oh, you have to feel always aligned with your business. And if you're not feeling aligned, now you need to go to Costa Rica for 2 weeks and not show up on emails or social media and completely detach. And I'm curious on your take on this because you guys need to note, Lori said, maybe if it's really bad, she'll take a day, but it's usually more of like a 2 hour walk. So it's there's a difference between the two. And I'm very curious on your take on this subject matter.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So I am, was, is all the things super in that world as well. So I like just like going finding, like I think there's a time and a place for that conversation, and I think there's a time and a place for learning about it, and I think there's a time and a place for like alignment, but then there's also a time and a place for showing up for your team and for your word, and for learning from when you are misaligned, and not just I actually have some friends who were like, it's not in alignment, and cancel like speaking gigs right before them. And I'm literally
I've had
like,
people cancel on me because Mercury was in retrograde. I swear on my life.
no, yes, I've literally seen it, and I've experienced it. So that's actually not going to end up working for you long term, because relationships come from when people can depend on people. And I think being in alignment is learning when you are in alignment and when you're out, but still following through on your word and showing up so that other people can also depend on you. Because I can tell you that the people who did that, nobody wants to work with them because it's not dependable. And also, it's like, okay, there's no better way to learn what was in alignment than when you're out and you have to follow through with it. Because then there comes a time in your life when, let's just say we are one of those people, right? Oh, that's not in alignment. Sorry, I'm canceling, even though you have all of your people on this mastermind who are waiting for you to go speak to them, and they've all paid X amount of dollars or whatever that looks like. It's like, okay, so if you are out of alignment and you have to follow through with that, there's no better way to know what is in alignment. And also remember that you probably get done with that call and you probably realize it was in alignment, and that you were just tired and you started your period and you didn't feel like being around people and you wanted to eat chocolate instead. And I'm just saying what has happened to me. This is not about women. This is literally what's happened to me, where I'm like, oh, this doesn't feel in alignment. And then I get on and I'm like, oh, that was just me really wanting to introvert and be under the covers. And I'm so glad that I showed up, because it felt so good. And it made me remember what I do love. And I'm so glad that, wow, look at how important that is for me to do that, because all these clients came out of it. And so I really believe that even when you are in alignment, it's not going to feel like it a lot of the times. And you're not going to know until after. I've had those moments where I was like, no, this event feels out of alignment. I don't want to go. I don't want to get on the plane. And now there's many versions of that, of course, but we can trick ourselves because that's sabotage. So I think a lot of times right now, this conversation of alignment is actually a version of sabotage.
Oh, it's subconscious self-sabotage, without a doubt.
For sure. 100%. And you'll know if it was or it wasn't. Like, I had a speaking gig one time that was absolutely amazing. The person was great, but it was so far out of alignment for me. And when I was done, I knew that it was. It was like, okay, wasn't my audience. It didn't resonate with anyone. People didn't really respond to it. It didn't feel good to me. It was super challenging the whole time, and it was out of alignment. I wouldn't do it again. But I also wouldn't have ever taken it back, because it brought me to a new personal level of expansion and what was possible for me. And it got me so clear that I'm so glad that, even though I had a little whisper of it being out of alignment to me, that was like, oh, I think you're doing this for some weird reasons. I think you're doing this because you want to show up on a stage with these other names. And I was for sure. And looking back, it also was a great reason, because it kind of put me on the map in certain areas. And then it gave me choice to say, oh, I'm now getting asked to go and speak at these other things because of that. But now I have choice to say, okay, that one isn't, that's not a good fit for me, and this one over here is. So I think this is such an interesting conversation, because there's things that are clearly in alignment, like they've got my perfect audience. But then there's also things that are like, yeah, but what opportunity does this have over here, that if I stayed in alignment, I'm staying comfortable.
Ooh. Now I think we got to maybe where some of the root is of the subconscious self-sabotage. Is it that you want to be in alignment? Is that just a really fancy, tricky word of comfortable?
It feels like it to me when I ask myself that question. I think we need to differentiate between what that means. Like, is this a good fit? Does this feel like something that adds value to my life, and that it's a good time in my life for this? Like, let's say you're already uncomfortable in your life, or you're really looking for good audience fits right now, and you're doing other personal work and things like that, and you're like, I don't want to do things right now that make me feel even more stretched, and I don't have energy for the things I want to focus on. Then I think that's a true question, or that's a true statement of like, that feels out of alignment, feels like too much work. It's not the audience fit. I'm really focused on making sure of this. Now, if you're in a place where you're like, wow, I want to grow, like I need more audience. I need to figure out what my next offering is. I want to get more clear on my next level. Okay, well then you need to be doing a whole lot of shit that feels out of alignment to figure out what's in alignment.
Yeah,
AKA
I mean, if you're
uncomfortable.
not, I'm constantly uncomfortable. And what
Constantly.
I've done is that's my familiar.
Yeah.
It's more familiar for me to be uncomfortable now, but I had to practice that over years. So I had to
Yeah.
become more familiar with being uncomfortable than being familiar with being comfortable,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
It's so good. It's so making that your, like making that your baseline instead of like, oh, I'm so comfortable. And then it's just like radars are just like, or all the bells are going off when you're uncomfortable. It's kind of like letting the alarms go off when you're too comfortable.
Oh,
instead.
and my alarms go off. I'm like, I do a lot of speaking to myself. It's like only child
Same.
syndrome, perhaps.
No,
No. Okay.
I do it all the time.
Like out loud and shit. So I'll be
all the time.
I'm like, why don't I feel uncomfortable today? What's happening? That's my check-in. So we talk about showing up regardless on this show a lot. And I'm noticing, getting to know you better and better, that you show up regardless. But I want to hear your take on it, because some people, when I say that, they get a little triggered thinking I'm saying that means to self-abandon, right? That means to abandon oneself and one needs to show up regardless. And that's certainly not what I mean. So I would love to know, what is your take on and your principles on showing up for your business, for your team, for your people, for your husband, for your friends, regardless?
Oh, this is so good, because that has been the word for me that has been getting me through everything and helping me solve so many problems, is like, just show up. You don't have to show up your best. So you said talking out loud. This is all I'm doing right now. I'm like reparenting, self-soothing. I'm like, because the last couple of weeks I've just like not felt like my best, like emotionally, just because there's a lot. I feel like I'm getting punched in the gut a lot in a way that's just unfamiliar, uncomfortable. What do I do? What should I do? And the answers aren't all there yet, So it's like, okay, so what I'm saying to myself is like, well, that if you just keep showing up regardless, even if you don't feel great, even if every day feels unsure, even if every day you feel like you're not getting answers, eventually you will. And eventually, and it turns on a dime, like eventually you're going to be like, oh my God, I know what I'm talking about. Or, oh my God, I understand this. Or, oh my God, I see the answer. And I know that can only come up out of showing up regardless. It doesn't mean I'm staying up till midnight trying to solve a problem. It means I'm showing up regardless throughout the day. And I'm also making sure that I get my walk to process and make sure I'm, talking about smart ideas within the business, and that I'm eating healthy, and that I'm getting a workout, because I know that I can't show up regardless without getting my workout. Like, I know that that's going to stop me from showing up no matter what. I know that if I don't get a good night's sleep and go to bed between 9 and 10, that I can't show up regardless. So for me, I have boundaries on show up regardless, but every day it's like, I'm not going to not show up unless I absolutely, for some reason, am in, some sort of like, okay, we need state of emergency. But at the same time, it's like, I have boundaries within that to make sure I'm taking care of myself to be able to show up consistently.
You set it up so you can show up regardless.
Exactly. Totally.
What about the accountability system you've set up? Like, I don't know if you're like me in this way, but if I'm left to my own devices, like I will luxuriate off to la la land and not follow through, and have shiny object syndrome, and I'll keep putting stuff off. So I have a lot of people I pay, because for me, I'm very motivated by when I put out big chunks of money, or I'm paying employees, and I know they feed their families from me. That makes me show up even when I don't feel like it. Because 70% of the time, like, I want to stare at a wall and like paint pretty pictures,
Same.
know?
Same.
So
I want to like go learn guitar or go dance or walk or
So what do you do to set up accountability around yourself to show up and do the things that aren't sexy, that aren't fun in business, that are mundane, are boring, or very adulting, and so you do it anyway?
Yeah, this is such a great question. I was just talking about this because, it's a different level of accountability now than it used to be, because I like my life now. I make good money. I make residual income as well from network marketing and other things that we're doing. And it would be very easy for me to float off and go sell seashell necklaces to people on that island and enjoy my life. And it's not that I'm not enjoying my life. In fact, I'm enjoying it more because I know that I have more to give and to offer. So I'm so committed to like this mission and this vision and who I want to be, and to my highest potential. I'm so committed to my highest potential. So with that said, I actually have to create more accountability now, because I do have that other option to not work. And with that said, it's even more important for me to create some crazy accountability around myself, where in the beginning I could have bootstrapped this, Tiffany. Like, I could have done this slower. I could have like put my own money into it and had it be really small in the beginning and just, have this over 10 or 15 years. And I knew that I wanted other women involved. And I also knew that I wanted the accountability of the investors to help me make this what it was meant to be, and to help it make the impact that it was meant to be, and show women how to raise money, how to get their vision out. And if they don't have that other option, what does this look like? And I know the only way for me to teach that is to go through it myself. And let me just tell you about the layer of accountability that comes when you have investors. And then when you also have people that you hire who are amazing, like freaking I am obsessed with my team to a level that is just like, I never thought a team could be this incredible. And so for me, on the days that I don't want to show up, I'm just like, I want to show up for them. Even if it's not for me or for the company, I'm like, I want to show up just for them, because they believe in me and they believe in this. And I'm never going to give up on this. And I want to grow this to where, everything is thriving and they get incredible, just learnings, opportunities, experiences. So I know that's there and I already see it happening. So that will also happen as you start to grow. You get these glimmers of the breadcrumbs of hope throughout that are going to keep you to the next breadcrumb, even if you have to go through Death Valley to get to the next one, because you will for sure. And it might be a crouton that you find in Death Valley, but it'll still be a crumb.
It's like that perfect crouton on a salad. That's like exactly the right form of crisp, and like
with some Parmesan cheese melted on it. Yeah, you know that crouton. So yeah, that's where my accountability is coming right now, and also planning some fun things. Then, like, these strategy sessions, instead of doing this all alone and feeling like you're alone and everything, like, reach out to people, plan in some fun strategy days, and we set intentions before every strategy or any work meeting or anything like that. It's gratitudes, and it's like, what's our intention for this? And a lot of times my intention, to be totally honest, is fun, because everyone will bring every other intention, and mine will always be, let's make this fun, because that's where all the good ideas come from.
And if it's not fun,
then why the hell are you doing it?
What's the point? I mean, because you're
Exactly.
spending so many hours of your life building your business. If you don't find a way to make it fun, it's going to suck the life out of you.
You're not going to be able to, it's not going to be sustainable. So you have to infuse fun. You have to like literally come up with different ways to make your business fun. And it's not going to naturally be fun, you guys. Like, you have to create a culture that really infuses that into everything that you do. And some days it does feel like, okay, I feel like I'm forcing this and it doesn't feel natural, and we're all in this state. And you have to stick to what you want. You have to start off the meeting the way that you want, even if it feels obnoxious. If your way to start a meeting is someone choosing a song and getting up and dancing, you have to like stick to that if you want to keep that going.
Yeah, I mean, I start my meetings. It's not some like formal thing. I mean, with this company, which is different than my other company, is a little more like, it's a little more serious. So yeah. I can't be as, obnoxious as I am with ProjectME. But with ProjectME, I start it out with like, almost, let's get out every fear, thought, and all the crap we have going on this week, almost like in a sarcastic way. So like,
Love
I'm like,
that.
how are we doing? But you have to really answer it like for real, not a politically correct way. And it
Yeah.
ends up being funny. I'll be like, well, I am one step away from being on my 600-pound life living in a tent.
Yes.
And then we all start laughing because we've just taken, we're not giving some politically correct answer like, well, all of my dreams are unfolding just as I've always expected. And we laugh and it breaks the ice. And it also lets everyone know, like, these things that we're thinking are,
Yeah.
absolutely out there. So you're talking about, building community and resources and having people around you, whether you've paid them, whether they're investors, whether they're, friends and mentors around your vision that'll keep you accountable, that have you showing up, regardless. And this is something that you specialize in teaching people how to do, because this is not taught in business school. This is not, which I wish it was, but it's not taught. And I know this is also one of the core, I guess we could say, missions behind Light Pink, is teaching people how to connect, how to network, how to build that collaboration. So if you could, tell everyone listening, how they can get more involved with Light Pink, how they can start learning how to do these things. Because I know that you guys are going to have some great resources and tools coming out.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And again, like, so excited to have you on board. It's just like, I can't wait for all of the fun things that I'm sure that we get to do in the future as well. So you can go to lightpink.com and literally just opt in, because not only are you going to be able to, try it and like have this amazing experience with it, but also there's so much intention beyond the company that we're excited about creating like these pop-up events or connection events and being at people's events. So we want that to be a really big core of what we do, is to be at the places where women are already connecting, and then actually setting a really intentional moment there, even if it's a 15-minute moment, a 20-minute moment with the questions on the cans. We also have a give back component to female entrepreneurs. So we'll be giving back grants to female entrepreneurs. So we're really excited just to be in this world showing what is possible. One of our taglines is be the proof, like be the proof that she can do it too. So how are you being the proof? How are you showing up regardless, showing her that she can do it too?
Yes. You be the proof. I mean,
Yes.
that's what gets me to also show up and show up as I am in any given state, right? That's part of my brand. And you guys know it. I mean, I've recorded episodes while buzzed, and I'm like, this is how today's going. Or I'll even start out by saying, I didn't feel like doing this. But I'm here for you. Right. And showing up in real time and being proof. And you're proof to everyone today. Because a lot of people, going to your Instagram at Lori Harder and going on to Light Pink's Instagram, make up a lot of things when they see you. Oh, it's easy for her. She has something I don't. She has this like perfectly set up mindset practice that works flawlessly every day. Because we all make up stuff about other people. But you just were proof to everyone listening that, you can be human and flawed and have crap days and crap weeks and crap months and still be wildly successful.
Thank you for that. And I hope if I can be one thing, it is that people know that they can do it too. And I also want to say, when you just keep showing up, you're going to have days where it's like, God, I feel like I should be doing more. I feel like I should be doing more. That's never going to go away. And I always want to share how shocked I am at, like, as long as you're differentiating between needle moving things and time wasting things, you actually don't have to be doing as much in your day as you probably think. Don't get me wrong, you'll be busy. But if you can start differentiating on needle moving things, it's like, okay, how did we move the needle in a big way today? If you just did that once a day, you would be so much further than majority of people who are freaking exhausted out there. Like, what are those needle moving things? And sometimes the biggest needle moving thing you can do is hiring someone who can help you move that needle more. So it's thinking different, right? Like letting go of those old stories of, I need to be exhausted. I need to feel like I'm, doing everything. And I'm really learning that is not the case when you are super intentional on what you need to do in your business. And it's usually the big scary things. And if you do those first, you will take like leaps daily.
Yeah, if you're not sure of your next steps or what would move the needle and what is just busy work, like Lori said, you need to hire someone who's highly qualified in helping you sort through that, because you're going to save so much time. I was that person in building my first company. I thought more was better.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that you could only have success if you, quote unquote, what I was, taught growing up, you damn near kill yourself. Like,
Yep.
it's a Midwest thing.
Totally.
You damn near kill yourself. And it doesn't have to be that way. And it's simply not true. Thank you, Lori, for coming on and being one of the rare, more transparent people who's very, has a big presence online, because this is the evidence that so many people need to see, that this is normal. It's normal to feel all these things. It doesn't matter how much money you make, if you have a blue check next to your name, it doesn't matter. I mean, I know from where I live, there's celebrities that live all around me. These people all feel the same way. We're all human at core. So I really appreciate you. You guys, take a screenshot right now of this episode, even those of you who I know are multitasking, and share it on Instagram and Facebook. Tag me at ProjectME with Tiffany, tag Lori at Lori Harder, and let us know that this was evidence for you. It was like, oh my God, you have no idea, you guys, how badly I needed this evidence today. I have a feeling when you're listening to this because you've asked God, you've asked the universe for like, throw you a bone, like give me some evidence to keep going. I bet you anything, for so many of you, this was the evidence and the proof that you needed. So let us know that it was. Get on our radar. Take the screenshot, share it on social media at ProjectME with Tiffany, at Lori Harder. Now, to go and sign up for all this cool stuff that's coming with Light Pink, I want you to swipe up. It'll be in the show notes. Get on. Don't blow off doing that, because then you're going to end up missing on stuff that's coming down the pipeline that like Lori and I can't talk about yet. So I really want you guys to be able to get in, on an early ground floor with this, because this is going to be something wildly different that you've never seen out there from any other consumer packaged goods brand, which is why I invested. Thank you for coming on, girl. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. These are the conversations that give me life. Like, this is what you need to make sure that you're doing while you're building your business, is talk to other people doing it too, because it's the things that will just keep you going. So thank you so much for having me on. This was one of those just major shot in the arm. So thank you.
Bye, babe.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.